Number 6 is not on. That's Bill.
No, you didn't have to reference any name, did you?
Yes, I did. It's all right now.
I know. Right.
You get glasses?
Well, I started to try.
Okay.
Breaks
Oh, are you
down.
this guy?
You need to redefine your life here.
Maybe I need to change breeds.
You know, that it's really sad. I've only had like 2 things that I have governor trees, but that was tougher because he was
Not only need
Andrew Johnson. It was so much on the line. He loved
the
it.
shoes, slip the crossfit people who just
It was such a nice.
somebody else does it, it's gonna be
Yeah.
We're all set.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not prepared to, of course, but it's been a response.
Let's call this meeting for the County Commission Adult to order. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you call the roll?
Mr. Gaines.
Here.
Commissioner Stanley.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Commissioner Orthwein.
Here.
Mayor Scott. Mayor Morgan.
Here.
Mayor Scott.
Mayor Scott is here. We've been provided with the minutes from the October 10th meeting. Are there any corrections or additions?
All the corrections are some almost humorous typographical errors. We get a draft read, and I don't know whether or not when you actually bring this up to final, but
After you've approved it.
lawsuits are not sweets, and that shows up consistently. And when we talk about our morale, it's called moral in here. So
Okay, we'll take care
I
of
think,
that.
yeah, only because these things could become a matter of public record at
Right.
some future date. But otherwise, you guys take phenomenal minutes.
And a lengthy one at that.
Yeah.
Any other corrections noted? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Second. Rita?
Commissioner Gaines.
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. We have some rearrangement of items today, is that correct?
Yes. I'd like to, with your permission, withdraw item 10A, an easement relocation. And I'd like to add item 10F. It's a resolution 1415. It's under commission action. Both of them.
All right, well,
Is
those changes.
10A going to be rescheduled date certain, or is that just in limbo?
It's in limbo.
All right, next meeting is December 12th. Commission members all going to be present. If not, looks like we'll have a full complement. Public comments. Anybody care to speak? Mr. O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've had the pleasure of meeting most of the police officers in town. They are all better than officers I've seen in other jurisdictions. They're hardworking, honest, and forthright, very helpful. I applaud you for giving them the pay raise that you did. But 3 years ago, I criticized a police officer when I heard him call workers at my home beaners. A few weeks later, this officer searched the inside of my home uninvited and without a warrant. He took pictures of the inside of my home from over my rear fence. This officer came back later and again tried to enter my home uninvited and without a warrant, but found the doors locked. He then spied into my private home by looking over the rear fence yet again. This same officer then fabricated a false police report and lied about what he did and why he did it. My complaints to the town about this produced no results, not even an apology. Instead, Mr. Thrasher waged a campaign against me of retaliation and abuse by denying my permits, inciting my neighbors against me, fabricating false code violations. But I wouldn't be silenced. I made numerous public record requests. I tried to call attention to the town's abuse with a website and political art. Got nowhere with the town. I complained to the courts and have been retaliated against yet again, this time by a propaganda campaign aimed at silencing me once more by accusing me of harassing the town and wasting the town's money and resources. But I'm not going to be silent. In a desperate attempt to force me to give up my complaints and finally be silenced, each commissioner here has voted to accuse me of criminal racketeering and use the courts as a weapon to retaliate against me and suppress my free speech. Each member of this commission has collaborated to concoct a fictitious legal complaint against me solely in retribution and retaliation for themselves having been brought before the courts. I've been warned by Mayor Morgan through his attorney, used to be my attorney, that I must withdraw all of my complaints or be drawn into a long and expensive RICO lawsuit. This is extortion, and I will not be silenced by it. This RICO accusation is untrue. It is a ringing bell that cannot be unrung. It is a callous and malicious attempt to destroy my character, and it will not go unpunished. The town has chosen to fight a long and costly battle with town money. I have made numerous attempts to resolve this and been rebuffed. I am speaking today because I have a responsibility to try to mitigate some of the propaganda damage inflicted on me by this commission. But I'm just a citizen. I'm fighting a juggernaut of power and money. I'm not going to be silenced.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Ms. Randolph?
Oh dear. Good morning.
Morning.
Can you hear me? Sorry. My remarks today come from my heart and from the heart of our community. Mr. Mayor, you have once again hit a home run with your letter updating us. It was extremely informative, and the community, while shocked, is very appreciative and supportive. Your strong leadership gives us comfort and hope. To our Gulfstream staff, we are all so proud of you. We greatly admire and respect your loyalty, hard work, unselfishness, and caring, upbeat attitude. You have performed with incredible dignity, respect, and professionalism, even under the most grueling and challenging circumstances. Thank you for protecting Gulfstream and helping make it the wonderful place it is. Again, from my heart and from the heart of the community, we thank you, Mayor Morgan, Commissioners Ganger, Porthoin, Staley, and White. Last spring, the residents spoke loudly and boldly in supporting you. How thrilled we all were with the election results, which broke all records. But the sweet smell of victory and our vision for the town's future is painfully being washed away by the contentious behavior of Mr. Boyle and Mr. O'Hare against our town. But we are not discouraged. In fact, we are very much encouraged. After your unanimous vote to proceed with the RICO suit, we now know without any hesitation, that we the voters indeed chose a team of leaders. We applaud you for your thoughtful deliberation, your courage, your determination, and your toughness. Thank you. Be assured the community is listening. We are watching and are ready to provide whatever support is needed. As our town moves towards this difficult time, we must understand where our power and strength lie. It's very simple. It's a very simple notion. It's the three-legged stool. the town staff, the mayor and the commissioners, and the residents. By joining together with a unified voice and commitment, we are truly a force, a mighty force to be reckoned with. We will see Gulfstream through this. And as they say in the Marine Corps, hoorah!
Thank you. Any other public comments? If not, let's move on to reports. Mr. Brown, underground report.
Andy Brandon Gillespie. Good morning.
Morning.
Page 2 of the handout that we provided you has some of the bullet items on the status of the project. We are in the process of finishing up the documents that some will have to go to FPL and some will go to Comcast and AT&T for their moving forward with their work. And we have basically one last document to prepare, which is a right-of-way document for FPL for the final layout. We have a couple of easements, one on the golf course and one crossing A1A at one of the condominiums down at Westminster, I believe, where we had to take a little variation in the route due to obstructions. We 2 Exhibit A's to change. Other than that, it's a matter of recording the easement and recording assignments, and all the easement stuff is wrapped up. The street lights will remain in service until the poles are coming down or until we put different street lights in. We met yesterday with the vendors of our street lights to make sure that they're getting on track with making sure that we get the final things that we want to look at so we can verify. The vast majority of the street lights are in the north end of phase 2. We have, I think, 4 in the south end. So we'll be putting all those in at the same time when we do phase 2. The contractor overran their project, and they're going to have approximately $10,000 penalty for being 5 days late doing their substantial completion. FPL yesterday indicated to me that they were going to need 2 more weeks to get their documents for the drawings and the binding cost estimates for phase 2 to us, which would be the end of the month. And they have been a little bit lengthy in this process. We have
Danny, when you say they're binding cost estimates, does that infer that they put in effect a bid as to what it would cost if they did it? Or is that just other cost estimates that are baked into your plan?
Binding cost estimates are initially what they provide is an estimate where they do all the construction labor for their facilities. We request that they also give us an estimate that if we do the installation, what will the cost be? So we get 2 versions of the estimate. And that lets us know that if we're going to go out for a contract to have a contractor do it, kind of the amount of money that we're going to save by doing it ourselves. There's other aspects because we have to do the cable TV, AT&T, Comcast piping anyway, and so usually we look at that we can do that piping and the power company's work for less money than they can do their work.
Thank you.
But that will be a 180-day guaranteed price for the conversion of their facilities. And we have 180 days to accept, reject, and then once we accept it, then we move forward. The schedule, of course, we've slipped about another month because we were supposed to get these FPL documents last month, and it's in your package. But we're still on track on the budget. Phase 1 is very tight. We've absorbed some of the costs from the assessment methodology, some other things that weren't originally in the budget. So we're still under budget, and we're almost done. So that's a good thing. But I'll leave the numbers to your reading.
Any other questions of Mr. Brown? not, thank you.
Thank you.
Town manager report.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
ARPB's next meeting is next week. Finance director's report.
You have been provided the financial report for the month of October. There's no approval necessary. Try to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions of the finance director? If not, we'll set that as submitted. Police chief report.
As submitted.
As submitted. Any questions on it? If not, we'll accept that as submitted. The next item is a resolution from the Board of Directors of the Palm Beach County League of Cities. Rita, would you please explain what this is? And,
Yes, this is a resolution of theirs, 2014-02, and they're taking the position opposing the possible change from the Treasure Coast Planning Council to the South Florida Regional Planning Council. The Board of County Commissioners hasn't made a final decision, but they're leaning towards that with the, I don't know when they, do you know when they take the next vote?
pretty soon.
But the league, the Palm Beach County Municipal League, has taken a strong position to not change, to stay with Treasure Coast Planning. And they asked that the various municipalities stand solid. We've been with Treasure Coast Planning for many, many years, and they don't see any advantage to changing. And the people that are in the Treasure Coast area are more in keeping with our positions on things than if we go to the south. And that's what this is all about. They're asking the municipalities to do a resolution. And there is one prepared for your consideration under commission action.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment? Yeah, I was going to ask if you would.
Okay. Jeff, I'm sure that this conversation to most of us is gibberish, and that most people don't even know what the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council is. For many, many years, regions of the state of Florida have had a planning council that actually was consistent with planning at the state level, but tailored to the needs of individual communities, which are obviously hugely different in a state as large and as complex as the state of Florida. The Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council are urban planners, professionals, and they are available to us for challenging issues, particularly with respect to growth management. The Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council recently completed a task in the city of Del Rey, which is an updating of their master plan, which was highly controversial, politically charged, and they were just professionals who kind of took the politics out of it and dealt with what are the needs of the city with respect to the land use regulations in the downtown. And their recommendation looks as if it's going to be approved as early as next Tuesday, and although it will have a lesser impact on us in Gulfstream than it would obviously anyone who is a resident of Del Rey, you'll notice the difference if the city adopts the new land use regulations as proposed. And there was a 2-year study that led to this adoption. So, I mean, it's really very important for us as citizens of Palm Beach County to have access to an objective group of planners. And I'll bring this right down to the reality of it, which was that we the collective community on the barrier island used the Treasure Coast as a sounding board and eventually an arbiter on the fate of Briny Breezes. When they stepped in, it was a real break for us because they were extraordinarily helpful in advising the state on what should be done with Briny Breezes at the point in time at which a developer had come in and proposed to buy the whole town for $510 million and create a monster city, literally right at the end of our street, so to speak. So Treasure Coast, they are more like us than the people that the county proposes to switch to, which is South Florida Regional Planning, which is Miami and Broward, even Monroe for that matter. And their needs are just incredibly different from ours. I can't honestly understand why the county would want to switch. The professed reason is because it could save some money. I guarantee you, if it does save money, we're not going to get it. So we, the citizens of Palm Beach County. So I think it's some kind of I really don't understand why they want to do what they want to do. And I think that Commissioner Abrams is a swing vote. Hopefully, can prevail upon him to switch his vote because he voted in favor of the switch. But it was a proposal. It was not a decision. And then the purpose of this resolution is to let the commission know, because that's the county commission know, that the citizens of Palm Beach County don't want to be, in effect, merged with the citizens of Broward and Dade County. We're just too different. So that's the background of it. It doesn't sound like a big deal. Many of these resolutions are things that, you know, just pass by. I personally consider this is a big deal.
Thanks, Bob. We'll take it up in more detail when we consider the resolution. I'd like to get the thoughts of the other commissioners, but I think you pretty much summarized the important points. Next item is the engagement letter of Weiss Sirota. We've had an opportunity to read that.
Mr. Mayor, this is really housekeeping. You approved the retainer last time, and I just felt that we ought to bring this back to you to look at it. It did have a 2.5% cost factor in it that we hadn't mentioned the last time. So I would recommend that you authorize the manager to execute this engagement letter.
Any comments or questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the engagement as set forth in the Weiss Sirota letter of October 14th?
Motion to approve.
Second. Rita?
Commissioner Gager?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Thank you, Skip. All right, now we move on to Resolution 1413, which is what we're discussing. Any other comments, Tom, Don, or Joan, relative to the request of the League of Cities for us to pass a resolution objecting to this proposed move?
I think Commissioner Ganger said it all.
I think so too. I don't see any reason to do it. Our staff has worked closely with the Treasure Coast for years.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want to all of a sudden change, and particularly change to towns that will be dominating, like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, couldn't possibly work to the benefit of our town. So I would be in favor of that resolution.
Then should I move to approve resolution 1413?
Let me just read the
Do
title.
you want to do the whole thing? Okay.
Just the title. A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, strongly objecting to recent action taken by the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners to withdraw Palm Beach County from the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council and to request membership in the South Florida Regional Planning Council instead, and strongly supporting the county's continued membership in the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, providing for distribution and providing an effective date and for other purposes. This is being presented for adoption this 14th day of November 2014.
Motion?
Now I'll move to approve it.
What is this?
And I'll second the motion.
It's probably some communication device in the area.
Read it?
Commissioner Ganger.
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Next is Resolution 14-14. Rita, if you would please read that.
It's a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Florida, providing for the appropriations of budget expenditures in the general fund for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2014, and providing an effective date. Be it resolved by the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Florida, that the following reapportionments be made. Increase regular salaries, police officers, $55,524. Decrease unassigned fund balance, same amount, $55,524, being presented for adoption this 14th day of November 2014.
So what's this number represent? Why is it being considered at this time?
All right, thank you, Mayor. It is a budget adjustment that is required by the state of Florida. The department itself is under budgeted. And it is a result of unanticipated increase in the level of services from the police department that I approved throughout the year. This is strictly a budget item, something to provide the accountants with information that we have a balanced budget. I would also like to tell you that this is simply a budget rather than the actual. It's a necessary movement or resolution. The actual performance for the overall town as of today, and it may change up or down after the audit has been completed, but this budget resolution equates to an actual performance, actual hard dollars of negative $11,500. So for the year 2014. We, at this time, would need to take from $11,500. So that, I know, is not relative to this resolution, but it is part and parcel of the discussion. But it is, this increase is just unanticipated increase in the demands of our police department labor-wise.
Include overtime, holiday pay, that sort of thing?
Well, it goes beyond that, and I'll just give you one example. If you can envision the election and the number of police officers that you saw, sort of thing. We're also involved with interrogatories that affect our police department, and also security issues in town hall. But again, all of this was authorized by me.
Okay, very good.
But placed in if you're 11,000, I can't do the math in my head, but that's obviously under 1%. In fact, it's probably under a half of 1% of our annual expenditures.
I think it's less than 2/10 of the total
Okay,
budget.
well, that's what you
Yeah.
and me.
It's a minuscule amount, but it's just a necessary thing that we have to do here in public and to get our books ready for final audit inspection.
I'm curious if you can say, though, what's the bulk of this number increase? You mentioned several things, all of which seem to relate to problematic issues we've had with certain of our residents. What would be the largest number? Was it the election? Is it the response to legal action and interrogatories? Is it the security measures we've had to adopt here?
I actually asked for an analysis of that, and it's no one general thing. It's a composite of many that are insidious. The big item was the election, and then we've had other instances, if you remember, the signs, the parking, and all of which we did not initiate, or did we plan, or anticipate. It's just something that we dealt with. So it's a composite. I was hoping to find one which is say, well, 60% of it is related to this. Was unable to do that, frankly. It's a composite of activities.
Okay, it is what it is, we need to cover it. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Gainer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes. Any other items before we move to the 1415 resolution by commission? If not, we've been provided with resolution 1415. Rita, would you like to read that, explain it?
This
Generally.
is a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending the Construction Site Management Handbook, which was authorized by ordinance number 95/4 at Article 5, Fines and Penalties, so as to provide a fine of $250 for second offenses and a fine of $500 for third offenses and each offense thereafter, and providing an effective date, being presented today, the November 14th, 2014.
Mayor, can I explain that?
Yes, please.
At the last meeting, there was concern stated by a resident that you don't have any enforcement mechanism for people that are working outside your work hours. And although we are working on an ordinance relating to giving citations for one-time violations, that is not ready for consideration yet, but we felt that it was important that we put something in place which would allow the police department to issue a citation for a particular fine for someone who is working outside work hours or any other thing that falls within our construction site management handbook. So I put this ordinance together so as to provide a $250 fine payable to the town for a second offense, because the first offense is a warning, but the second offense could result in a fine, and a third and subsequent offense could result in a fine for $500. That's an alternative method to allow for a violator to pay that citation. Alternatively, they could go to court, but this is a method by which a person that is cited could simply pay that fine and not go to code enforcement. Code enforcement deals with continuing violations, where someone has a violation that continues and the special magistrate may want to consider imposing a daily fine. This particular ordinance is drafted for one-time violations that aren't continuing. So I think this gives the police department some teeth in regard to handling some of those concerns that have been stated by your constituents.
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea for the public and the commissioners as well. Mr. Randolph has been working on an ordinance to give us citation and fine authority through the Code of Ordinances, which up to this point has not had a lot of teeth. However, it's much more complicated than we expected. The code is broad, it's large, it overlaps, and a fine and citation ordinance needs to be thorough and not contradictory. So it's going to probably take months for staff, in addition to all the other work they have to do, to review the code, to try to help Mr. Randolph put together a reasonable code fine and citation ordinance. In the meantime, this allows the police and our town to administer really what is the biggest source of violations, and that is vendors coming in, whether it's a contractor or a landscaper or a resident that is in violation of really what most people complain about, and that is construction activity. So I think this is a great way to immediately handle this problem while we get our code put together. Comments?
Are the fines prescribed by some state statute, or is there some limit? I guess the question is, where does the $250 come from?
Well, there's a $500 fine if you were to go to court, and possibly some incarceration time connected with it. And the code enforcement statute allows for up to a $250 a day fine for a first offense, or a $500 a day fine for subsequent offenses. So this is basically based on that.
Thank you.
Is this fine going to go to the contractor itself or the subcontractors if they show up early? How does that work?
It will go to whoever is in violation. The police department would kind of go to the person that is in violation on the property.
Okay, so if someone shows up with a delivery early, it'll go to them,
Yeah.
and they won't.
And or, you know, it could be the property owner as well, if the property owner has directed and allowed it.
Yeah. So it'd be who? Yeah, allowed it. Okay.
No, if a
Yeah, I mean-
contractor is on the property and not, and in violation of the code, it will go to them.
Right.
This resolution also gives discretion. We have first offense warnings, additional warnings. It's not
Yeah.
an immediate fine. You know, we're not trying to punish people, we're just trying to make sure that.
Oh, no, so the
Behavior.
contractor I was just getting at, does the contractor have responsibility over the people delivering, or does the person delivering, you know, Home Depot?
They're gonna have to work that out.
And the truck driver
between
doesn't
themselves.
know.
The police department's only going to be able to cite the person that they find working out of hours. If the contractor directed that to the subcontractor, then maybe the subcontractor's gonna pass that on to the contractor.
You understand what I'm saying, I mean,
I do know it.
somebody delivering something isn't gonna know
No,
our
but-
codes.
No, but
Yeah,
that's who we would have to issue the citation.
yeah, okay. The contractor's responsible.
Yeah, I think that's what the meat of it is.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? If not, is there a motion regarding this resolution? So moved. Move to approve? Move to approve. Second?
Commissioner Ganger.
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes?
Commissioner Orthwein.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Any other items, comments for the good of the order? If not, meeting is adjourned.
That was quick. I know. Wait a minute, I would still like to do a tennis court.
Probably already have something.
Oh, no, it's ladies' number guts today. Yeah.